Okay, bar chords. You may, as a beginner, you may have had the experience of following along some chord charts or something, and they have some chords that you know, whatever, A minor, E minor, C, and then you come to like an F bar chord, for example, and you say to yourself, one of these things is very different from all the others. Because the bar chords are like, especially in the lower position like this, they're just way harder, radically harder than the chords you're used to playing. The simple open position chords that you're used to playing, suddenly they throw something like this at you out of nowhere. And that, I think, is where we lose a lot of beginning guitar players. They say, hell with this, I'm going to take up pottery or something. Because really that's the first major hurdle that a lot of people have that seems like it's insurmountable. But I think that's because they're not approaching it the right way. In many cases, no one's told them how to do it. So if I were, first of all, I would start on an electric guitar. That's how I started, and it's just way easier to play bar chords on the electric. So if you happen to have an electric laying around, that helps a lot. Playing the first chord you usually see as a beginner is this F bar chord, which, especially if you have a not the best setup acoustic guitar, if the nut isn't properly cut, that can be really hard to do for anybody. But as you move up the neck further, the nut will have less and less to say about how hard it is. So I would start off, if you're playing an acoustic, somewhere up around, say, the 7th fret. And then once you get down, once you can play a bar chord up there, slowly move it down until you can play it in this position, the F down there. So up here, what you want to do is, it really doesn't take as much pressure as you think, and just adding more pressure, clamping down harder is not really going to help you that much. But you do have to have your thumb behind the neck. If you're used to playing with your thumb, creeping around the neck, which is, you should be doing that for a lot of things. You use that thumb to mute strings and stuff. You want to do that, and also you can use it playing chords. But in this case, you want to keep it behind the neck. It's like you're making a clamp out of your hand here, a C clamp. So put that behind there, and then situate your finger, your index finger, so that it's holding all the strings down. I get it right up against the fret. And if there's a string that's buzzing, you want to make sure that all the strings are ringing out clearly. Like that one. See right there, that one wasn't ringing out, so I want to move my finger around so that it is. Pressing down harder is not going to help, so you just want to try your finger position a little differently. There we go. And these little micro adjustments like that are what is going to work for you. Now, if you think about it, when you're doing a major bar chord, the only strings you need to worry about holding down with the bar are these top two and the bottom E string. The rest of them are being held down normally with your other fingers. So you might want to consider that when you're playing it. Go through a major bar chord. Make sure all the strings are ringing out. There's no buzz. And then try a minor bar chord, because that's actually a little harder. If you have any trouble with the minor bar chord, it's going to be that G string there. That's often going to you're going to get that kind of sound out of it. And so you need to make sure that Now, once you can do that, the major and the minor, try moving it down, say, to the 5th fret. And always go through each string individually and make sure they're not buzzing or muted. If you're playing electric guitar in a rock band, you know, it doesn't even matter. You almost never play a full 6-string chord. That's really, it's not something that's done very often. You won't even hear some of that in the mix. Like ordinarily, if you're playing a bar chord, you're only playing, say, the top few strings or the bottom few strings, like bottom strings or top strings. But you just never see anybody play like a 6-string chord in a rock band. It's very unusual. It just muddies up the mix. But you do, especially if you're a finger picker, you need to make sure all the strings are not muted and they're ringing out properly. Anyway, then move it down a little further and a little further. It will be kind of the same until you get down to where the F is. Then it starts getting harder, especially if the nut there isn't cut perfectly. And you know, I go for a long time without playing acoustic sometimes, and just, you know, as I was starting to prepare for this lesson, that was kind of hard. I mean, it definitely takes takes a lot of strength, and you may have to take a while to build up the strength. But it doesn't take, you know, it's nothing that you can't do. It's more precision than strength. Now, here's another thing I want to tell you about bar chords. And this is that good news I was talking about earlier. You don't have to play bar chords. There's no law in music that says you have to ever learn bar chords. I mean, you paid for that guitar. You can play it any way you want. So there are a lot of workarounds if you don't like if you don't like bar chords. Now, I think you probably should learn bar chords. But if that's an insurmountable obstacle for you, don't worry about it. Have you ever seen Hendrix play a bar chord? Stevie Ray Vaughan. Let me think of any more modern references than that. I've been watching this guy, Greg Koch, recently. He's a brilliant guitar player, and he's got a lot of YouTube stuff. Never seen him. I've watched hours of stuff, never seen him play a bar chord. Plays all this amazing, brilliant stuff. So I'm going to show you now some ways you can get around playing bar chords if you want, okay? You don't have to play bar chords. There's no law that says you have to play bar chords. You can play. I see a lot of guys use this chord. They're playing the top 5 strings like that. But rather than barring it, they're just playing it as you kind of like you would an F chord. If you play a regular 4-string F chord, and then you add this 5th string in, and then you come around with the thumb, and you got yourself a bar chord. It's not, I mean, once you learn how to play bar chords, it's not any harder than doing it this way, which I don't think is all that easy. Another thing is, if you play electric guitar, you're just not going to use bar chords very often, and there's no need to. I see guys, you've probably seen great professional guitar players that play a whole set and never play a bar chord. Oftentimes you have maybe a keyboard player filling in the real meat of the chord. And the other thing is, sometimes that if you play a 6-string chord, it just clutters things up. I use these chords a lot. It's like the top 4 strings of a major chord, and then you come around with the thumb and play the octave on the bottom. I don't know. It's especially on electric. It's a lot less cluttered sounding. It cuts through the mix a lot better.